It's time now for the political analysis of Fromm and Fuller. Al Fromm, former political advisor to President Bill Clinton, and Craig Fuller, former political advisor to both Presidents Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush. Good morning, all. Craig, Liz Cheney's book came out this week, and she's making the rounds of interviews. And at one point, she was suggesting that she was considering a third-party run. I'm sure that both of you are not thrilled with anybody who's thinking about a third-party run, but I think you have had some phenomenal respect for Liz Cheney in the past, and so I did want to quiz you on that.
I do have a lot of respect for Liz Cheney, and if she decides to run, it's a little bit of a different equation, at least in my mind. But I start by saying, she really has had a pretty remarkable career in public office, both at the State Department and in Congress, leading the Republican conference. While in Congress, she voted, I think, over 90% of the time with issues that Trump supported when he was president. But the fallout came obviously over the events leading up to and during and after January 6th. And she clearly had a target on her back, with Trump, I'm sure, wanting her out, with the past Speaker Kevin McCarthy doing Trump's bidding and getting her out, first of the conference and then getting her out of Congress. And so she's, I think, finding a place. The book I have ordered it. I haven't received it yet. I did watch the nearly 1 hour interview with Rachel Maddow, which was actually pretty remarkable. Remarkable in content. Two individuals who disagree, as they say on the show, about almost everything, except what Liz Cheney is doing now, which is trying to prevent the election of Donald Trump and other, I might say, election deniers. It was viewed by over 3 million people. To put that in perspective, Anderson Cooper on CNN usually gets just over 500,000 viewers. Donald Trump's town hall got a little over 3 million. And so she seems to have people tuning in to listen to what she's saying, people who are paying attention early in this election process. I don't think she has a lot of opportunity to actually get elected president in this cycle. A little bit, as we were talking last week about Gavin Newsom, she might well position herself as a leading contender down the road. But I think she's very mission driven. And her mission right now is to prevent Donald Trump from ever getting close to the White House again. She's very committed to the rule of law. She takes the transgressions of former President Trump and the people around him at the time very seriously, finds that appalling, and so has really decided that the best thing to do is to try to prevent him from getting elected, and then, as she said, look to see how best to rebuild the Republican Party, and she'd like to be part of that. If she could do those things, deny him an election or play a role in denying the election, and begin rebuilding the process, I would expect that she would be one of the higher contenders down the road. Although I'm not sure Republicans are going to treat her well, having her supporting Democrats. That's always a bit problematic. But she'll certainly be a strong voice for the Republican Party. I think she'll have a following. Personally, I'm still of a view that I'd rather see these people run inside the party and try to get the nomination the old-fashioned way by campaigning in primary elections. But if she were to enter, she would draw votes away from Trump, probably more than from Biden, and maybe that changes the equation. Still pretty early to know. I think Al might disagree with that.
Al, surprise, surprise, I suspect you are going to disagree with that. But first, tell us where you are, so we don't have to put it in the
comments. I'm sitting in the marina on a 45-foot cat in Virgin Gorda. in the British Virgin Islands. So I apologize in advance for what could be a little shaky connection this morning. Look, Cheney is a perfect example of how Donald Trump has destroyed decent Republicans. In what his assault on democracy, the big lie, has done for the Republican Party. Think about Liz Cheney. As Craig said, I mean, she was only in her second term. Go back to 2019, January 2019. Only in her second term. She's already elected the third highest position in the House leadership, probably on a quick path to Speaker. And as the daughter of a former vice president, her future in the Republican Party really seemed unlimited. And then comes along Donald J. Trump and his big lie, his refusal to accept the results of the 2020 election, his attempted coup on January 6, 2021, as he tried to hold on to the White House. Cheney showed what happens when you oppose him. I think maybe later in this program we may talk a little bit about Kevin McCarthy, but Trump's poison goes both ways. He kills you whether you're for him or against him. Look, Cheney stood up for democracy. And Trump basically and his cronies destroyed her. They took away her leadership position first. Her state party in Wyoming, the home of the Cheneys, censured her. And then a Trump acolyte routed her in a primary election for a re-election. Her crime was to stand up for the principles that Craig and all of my Republican friends, I'd say all decent Republicans, have stood for all their lives. Trump has really done her great damage. Now about a third party. Look, I'm somebody who's disagreed with Liz Cheney on almost every issue for almost all of her career. But I have only the highest regard for what she's done in the last 2 years. Probably no American, except maybe Mike Pence, who probably did it a little more reluctantly than she did, and less on principle than she did. But no American has contributed more to safeguarding our democracy over the last 2 years than Liz Cheney. So every person in America, regardless of your political party, who believes in small d democracy owes her a huge debt of gratitude. As Craig said, she pledged to do all in her power to assure that Donald Trump, in her words, never sees the inside of the Oval Office again. That's why I believe she won't run as a third-party candidate. She knows she can't win, that even the strongest third-party candidates can only be a spoiler. And in this case, where I do disagree with Craig, because of the nature of the support that Biden and Trump get, I believe that she would probably hurt Biden as any third-party candidate would more than Trump, and help throw the election to Trump. And essentially the reason is, if you look at a recent NBC poll, it was a bipartisan poll done by two leading firms, one on each side. By 63 to 31, people who vote for Biden say they're voting against Trump. With Trump, it's almost the opposite. So what that tells you that the Trump vote will hold through hell and high water in a general election. But Biden have another path, whether it's a Republican path like Cheney, a Democratic path like Joe Manchin, a nutcase path like Cornel West, or Robert F. Kennedy Jr., or a Putin track like Jill Stein. The likelihood that part of that anti-Trump vote will go to them, and so in the end, I think it'll vote Biden. So I don't think Liz Cheney will run as a third party. I'm sure she doesn't want to be a spoiler because she cares too much about our country and our democracy to play that.
Craig, the other thing I did want to talk to you both about was former Speaker Kevin McCarthy. When he lost his position about a month ago, he said that he would stay in the Republican Party, would stay in Congress. Fast forward 3 or 4 weeks, he's now saying he's leaving, which not only puts the Republicans in a rough spot for the election, but it kind of shows you maybe some of the collateral damage that President Trump has caused for his colleagues in the House. What are your take? What's your take?
Well, you know, we've talked a fair amount about Kevin McCarthy, a guy from Bakersfield, a congressional staffer, becomes a congressman and sets his sights on the speakership. And it's not just our observation; his colleagues say the same thing. He didn't care all that much about policy. He was very concerned about politics. He became a proven fundraiser and helped get members of Congress elected, and then turned around and quite obviously asked for their support in his quest for the speakership. You know, he got in after multiple votes as speaker. And what happens when you get elected speaker, this fellow from Bakersfield suddenly is flown around in an Air Force aircraft wherever he wants to go, makes it a little easier to get back to California. He raises even more money because he's the speaker and has a whole fundraising apparatus behind him. He has a security service, detail, and life changes dramatically. And not just for McCarthy, for any speaker. But for McCarthy, the quest was the speakership. And it's a little like, you know, the dog that caught the bus. He got it, but then what in the world is he going to do with it? And it proved not to last very long. And I just think he probably, you know, would wake up every day wondering, how do I go back, you know, to my seat in the chamber, having given up the speakership. And if he doesn't care a lot about policy, in my view, he achieved what he sought for many years, and now he's going to turn to other things. I'm sure there are lucrative opportunities for him as commentator, analyst, and that's fine. He steps away. Now, in some ways, the more interesting thing is we're for those paying attention, we're losing Republicans in the House of Representatives, and the margin is getting smaller and smaller, tighter and tighter. I saw one pundit say, "Let's hope on the Republican side no one dies." I mean, we're close to. It wouldn't take much to lose the majority, but anyway, he's decided to do that. I think I'm sure he'll stay in the public spotlight. It's what he enjoys. Who knows? Maybe there's a person who helped him write a book and tell his exciting story. But I think his tenure was mercifully short as speaker, and we move on, although still a bit in troubled waters on the Republican side. But anyway, so I guess you have to admire the ambition of achieving a goal like becoming speaker, but it didn't last long.
Al, you have the last word this time.
Well, you know, good old Kevin McCarthy. Think again back to January 2019. The majorities were reversed, so Nancy Pelosi was speaker, but Kevin McCarthy becomes leader of the Republican Party and the likely next speaker. As Craig said, it's his lifelong goal, and he seemed really set up. And then comes Trump in January 6th. He proves that you can be for Trump and Trump will still kill you. I mean, think about this. You know, he starts out on January 6th with an impassioned speech attacking Trump, you know, claiming, you know, defending our democracy. But it took him about a week or two to completely cave, to make the trip on his knees to Mar-a-Lago to see Trump. And so basically caved to Trump and his cronies. But that didn't particularly work out well for Kevin. Trump was put really a gaggle of lunatics in charge of the House. And what did they do to McCarthy? First, they made him grovel for through 15 ballots in front of the public, completely humiliating him. like no other modern day speaker has been humiliated just to get the speakership. Uh, and uh, and along the way, he had to make so many concessions that it was clear, as Craig and I have talked about much on this program, that his longevity as speaker was not likely to be great. Then they take the next step and they actually oust him from the speakership. And it's clear by his replacement, Mike Johnson, who probably is, in my view, more dangerous, maybe a nicer guy, but more dangerous than Kevin McCarthy ever dreamed of being. And probably won't be able to do anything different with all of the main issues like federal spending, which they're so concerned about. But because this gaggle of lunatics didn't like McCarthy, they threw him out of office. And now, you got to say that they've really driven him through the House. I mean, they made his tenure in the House so difficult that he decided he's going to go out and raise money. So I guess my question for McCarthy is, how did helping Trump play for you? I mean, it's, in a sense, it's sad, but it's emblematic of a day in politics where everything is about, personal ambition, and nobody seems to care about the country very much. And so I'd like to end by going back to Liz Cheney. I don't think she should run for a third party as a third party candidate, because I do honestly believe that any third party candidate helps Trump. But you have to have admiration for Liz Cheney. Kevin McCarthy got on his knees, begging the gaggle of lunatics to let him be speaker. Liz Cheney sacrificed her entire political career for the most essential belief in America, our belief in democracy. Mm-hmm. And you got to say, for that, we should be forever grateful.
I agree with that. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Al Fromm, Craig Fuller, thank you so much indeed. And safe travels, Al.